Hello friends, it's Candace and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you all about my right coin slot. Everything from finding the artist to the procedure to the healing and then what jewelry is currently in it. So just keep watching if you'd like to see that, and if you'd like to see more content like this, don't forget to like this and subscribe. Comment down below anything else you'd like to see from me. I am super excited to make a ton more content about body mods, piercings, tattoos, all that jazz. I love it all. I even do stuff about hair and stuff, so don't forget to subscribe. And that's pretty much it. Let me just hop right on into this coin slot video. So what is a coin slot, you might ask? I will show you some pictures right over here from various artists. Now basically a coin slot is just a cartilage removal procedure, and they cut out a chunk of cartilage from your ear and then they sew it closed. It's actually pretty cool and pretty hardcore, and if you can tough that out, you're pretty tough. Well, actually, the tongue split is the body mod that will really show you if you're hardcore or not. I don't have one myself, but I hear that the healing is just horrendous. Either way, this is a hardcore body mod. Some people call it a coin slot piercing. If you want to look up hashtags for it on Instagram, I would suggest looking up hashtag helix slot. Coin slot can sometimes get you like some butt crack pictures or some pictures of coins or something, and that's not really it. You want to look up like body mods, body mod artists. I feel, jeez, it's freaking loud noise. To find my artist, first I discovered what a coin slot was, and I decided I really wanted it because it just sounded incredible. You can heal this thing in under a month. I knew that because I already got my conches done, but you can heal it in under a month, and then you can stack like an outrageous number of rings. Like, you don't have to wait for like 10 piercings to heal to wear 10 rings in your ear. It sounded amazing. And of course, you know, with piercings, you can't start out with a ring. You got to start with a stud. So I really wanted the rings. So that's why I wanted the coin slot. So I was following body mod artists. I was following like hashtag body mods, everything like that. And I found a few that seemed credible. The way to do that is just look at their work. Does it look like they know how to put stitches in the ear? Do they have healed work on their page? Does a lot of people go to them? Or is this something they do every once in a while? Now, if they're posting daily of like ear body mods and like tongue splits and stuff like that, then you know they're probably pretty good. You can also go on there and see if you like how they do it. Now, some people do the coin slot a little bit like wider, some do it skinnier. You really can ask for exactly what you want from these artists. It was through Instagram that I found the artist that I wanted to go to, and basically I found their email address on Instagram and I emailed them and asked them for what I wanted, and we just booked an appointment time. They gave me a price, which I'm not going to say here, but if you're wondering, I mean, body mod artists at all are allowed to change their price whenever, depending on their skill, experience, like how sought after are they, like do they have hundreds of people going to them every day asking for mods. They could probably charge a little bit more. Plus, times change. I got mine a few years ago. Perhaps now people are charging a lot more for body mods. Even still, I'm not going to tell you exactly how much I spent, but if you're looking to get this sort of body mod and you don't want to just email an artist willy-nilly without even knowing like how much you're gonna need. For mine, I didn't even get close to $1,000. I know at least like when I get a tattoo, before I would email an artist, I would try to make sure I had like at least $1,000 saved up. That way, if the tattoo session is really long or anything like that, if the piece will take a long time or if it's bigger than I would think it would be or something, I know that $1,000 is probably a good enough chunk of change that I could cover most of it, if not all of the tattoo, if you know what I mean. So I would say if you're wanting any sort of body mod, probably before you contact an artist, maybe just try to save up $1,000. It's gonna be at least a few hundred. I don't know the prices for all things. I only have certain ones myself. It's gonna be at least a few hundred, and then you're gonna want to give a pretty good tip because they just cut chunks of your body off and stuff like that. So it's just nice to tip people for doing you a service. So I would just say, play it safe, save up $1,000 before you email a body mod artist, and don't question their prices. But yeah, if you're wondering, if you go to a doctor to get your ear stitched up and it's like 20 grand. I don't know the price for that, but like, you know that a body mod artist probably isn't going to be charging that 20 grand price. So I feel like if you're wanting a body mod, before you contact any artist, probably save up $1,000. Play it safe. Hopefully that'll be enough. And if it's not, then you're very close to what you're going to need to get the mod that you want. And the only reason I'm saying that, and I'm like sort of trying to tread lightly, is because anything I've seen on the internet, they don't really say the price. And I'm not really sure. I wasn't explicitly told not to tell people the price. But I know artists, even tattoo artists, don't like to like outwardly tell their prices sometimes, because they want people to take things seriously. They don't want people like shopping around for things and stuff, which I get completely. I know before I was interested in getting the mod, I really did want to know how much it might cost. Like, I didn't know, was it going to be $2,000? Was it going to be $50? I had literally no idea. I mean, I assumed it wasn't $50 because that is really cheap. That's like the price of a piercing. I just know there's not a ton of information out there about the prices for some of these body mods, so that's why I just sort of wanted to include that little disclaimer. If you're wanting a mod of any type, whether it's a tattoo, maybe piercings are maybe not $1,000, but any sort of mod like that, save up a really good chunk of change before you reach out to someone. That way you know you're gonna have everything covered, you know what I mean? So once I showed up to my appointment, the process was actually not that bad. I showed up at first, we say hellos, and then the artist has to set up, you know, they're cutting into your body, so they're going to want to make sure everything is sterile and set up for you, maybe clean up after their last client, whatever the case is. They're probably setting up for the procedure. Then when the artist came out to talk to me about what exactly I wanted, ears are different, people's desires are different. You can get really thin coin slots, you can get way thicker coin slots. He was just asking me what I wanted, what position I wanted, how thick I wanted the coin slot to be, how long, like how tall I wanted it to be, and any details like that. We did mark a little oval out so I could see exactly where it was going to be and how it might look afterwards. Once we started doing the actual procedure, people don't say much about the procedure itself, but I will say for me it was pretty much exactly like a dental visit. Like, imagine you have a cavity and you need a filling, like the steps that goes into that. It wasn't that bad. It was extremely similar to a dental visit in that you have someone all up in your grill, right up against your face, and just working really hard. They're like focusing, maybe putting stitches in you, cutting away, drilling. There's no drilling in your ear, but you know what I mean. They're like in your personal space. You can't get away. It's kind of uncomfortable, just like the position of the dental visit. Like, you're uncomfortable, you have your head over. The thing that makes it worse than a dental procedure, I guess dental procedures have kind of like loud and unpleasant noises too, with the drills and stuff like that. The thing that you don't get in a dental visit that you do get when you're getting a coin slot is crunching. You can hear, like, you hear about people talking about conch piercings. Oh my gosh, did you hear the crunch? Oh, it is like, you would be wishing for that conch piercing crunch during this coin slot. I mean, it's not like bone chilling. You can hear your cartilage crunching as they cut through it, and it is not that pleasant. The body mod artist cut out a little like sort of peanut shape out of my ear, and honestly I think the stitches were probably the most time consuming part. It was a super effortless procedure on my part. Like, all I had to do was lay there. Then he let me sit up, made sure I wasn't like feeling lightheaded or anything, made sure I was like feeling okay, as he explained what to do to take care of it when I'm healing it. He rolled up a band-aid. He cut the sticky parts up and rolled, like, you'll probably see in the picture I'm going to show. He rolled up the like absorbent part of a bandage. What is it, gauze? I don't know. He rolled that up and then stuck that in the coin slot. Now, the main thing to be worried about with any sort of ear mod like this, you don't want blood to like leak out of the wound and fill up that gap, because that is supremely uncomfortable when you have like one large shard of a scab in your ear, and it doesn't really help it heal that great. Anyway, so this band-aid in your ear is supposed to prevent the clotting from like connecting both sides together. And also, as you might see from the photograph, I had a massive bruise. Now, bruising is normal. I said it in my last r/piercing advice video, where bruising is normal if you're experiencing a trauma, you know, any sort of cut could cause a bruise, honestly. It's just a slight internal bleeding. If you're bleeding externally, the injury could have caused something internal. Obviously, a chunk of my ear was cut out, so I had like a lot of bruising. And the bruise itself like didn't hurt, like it was mostly the hole in my ear that hurt, but it wasn't too bad, and it didn't hurt till I got home, so it was like pretty, like, it wasn't that bad. I also had someone drive me, but I could have driven myself. I just don't like doing things by myself, so there I was. I think that time I went with my mom, actually. I remember, I think she was even sitting in the appointment room with me, so can't wait till Kanona's like done with, and maybe we can go back to things like that. So after that part, the healing was pretty easy. I had to wait at least 10, I think he said between 10 days and 2 weeks to take the stitches out. Now, I live kind of far away from where this artist is. I'm sure if I was much closer, he would have taken the stitches out for me. I remember him saying that he would have recommended someone to remove the stitches for me. At the time, they were no longer there, so I couldn't go to them. And I think he recommended me to go see a nurse, like maybe go to her urgent care or something. But I didn't actually do that because I don't like going to see people. So I didn't go see a nurse. Basically, throughout the healing process, it wasn't too bad. I kept band-aids rolled up in it so that it wouldn't bleed and it wouldn't clot too much. And I kept a really light coat of Neosporin, I think. Just that the artist advised just to keep the stitches a little bit more comfortable. Like, I didn't slather it on, just like a light coating. I also think it was mostly on the band-aid. I didn't really put it on my ear. I put it on the band-aid that I put in my ear. Another thing about the healing, during the healing, you have to keep it dry. If you're taking a shower, keep it out of the shower. My body mod artist actually gave me little baby ear shower caps. I'm not sure if they were actually for ears, but they were so cute. But basically, my ear was sore, and that was uncomfortable to put around my whole ear. So I didn't actually use it. I just didn't put my ear underneath the water at all. It was like super fun to wash my hair. You want to keep it dry while also making sure it stays clean. Like, don't wrestle in the mud while you have a healing wound. Anything that has stitches, keep it clean. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot. Another thing before I move on to how I took the stitches out is during the healing, it was insane. So obviously this was a really traumatic thing to happen. Like, you get a chunk of your body cut out of you. It's not something to really take too lightly. It's a big decision. I can't undo this. But basically, my body could tell it was a big trauma. And during the healing, my ear felt so weird. Like, it felt dry and it felt like scaly, like a lizard. But like, it was so itchy. I couldn't satisfy the itch. I didn't know why it was so dry and like so tough. My ear was tough. But I kept scratching at it. Obviously not at the coin slot, like not at the stitching site, but parts of my like ear and like the inner part of my ear a little bit. So what happened was my ear shed a whole layer of skin, and let me tell you how satisfying it was to peel off. Some of you are probably like, this chick is so disgusting. I'm sorry. But like, for me, it was so satisfying. It wasn't like just like on the outside. It wasn't thin. It was like a thick lizard layer of skin. It pulled off in a sheet, like big sheets, like into my ear canal, like not all the way deep, but like I peeled off sheets from like all the way inside. I'm like sticking fingers in my ear, all the way inside my ear, and then like in every crevice here there was a layer of skin that I was able to peel off. Oh my gosh, it was so satisfying, especially after it had that crazy texture for so long. It was so satisfying to peel off that skin, and then I had a normal ear after that. So moving on to actually when I took the stitches out, I think it was at the 10-day mark. I think that's when he told me to take the stitches out. My ear felt pretty healed. It wasn't like extremely sore at that point. It was just the stitches were really uncomfortable. Anyone who's had stitches knows once your wound is pretty much feeling healed, the stitches are so uncomfortable and they don't want to be in your body anymore. So at that point, my main issue was just the stitches, and it was the 10 days later, so I needed to get them out. But of course, why would I go to like someone qualified to take stitches out, or anyone with sanitary equipment? So I asked my parents to remove it for me. So there I was in the kitchen, both my parents like looking at me. They got tweezers, they got like little, like, it must have been probably like cuticle scissors or something, like really small to like snip the stitches. and they just took out these stitches for me, which I definitely don't recommend because I probably could have gotten an infection. You know, it's the risk you take when you do risky things. You could get an infection, and I don't recommend. I really recommend going to someone who knows what they're doing, who won't give you an infection. But I'm just telling my story, and this is what I did. Once all the stitches were out though, everything healed up great. Like, obviously after the stitches are out, there's a little bit more healing to be done. You know, there's still like some settling in your ear has to do. With cartilage especially, it takes a year total for any cartilage to heal. While the hole and the wound itself was healed up, you know, my ear was still recovering from the injury, but it wasn't too bad. There was just perhaps a little bit of swelling still, but not like noticeable amount, just like minor that I wouldn't even be able to tell. But basically after the stitches were out, it healed up great. The skin like smoothed over, and basically I probably started putting rings in way too soon because it was only about like 2 weeks after that I started putting like some of the ring. I had no rings, but I was putting like all of my like piercing pagoda rings in there, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I want to stack my slot. I want jewelry, like I want some jewelry in my ear, and I was so excited to start stacking, and I probably did it too soon, but no harm. I also took the stitches out myself, so like what am I gonna do about it? I started wearing the jewelry right at the 2-week mark. I didn't wear it consistently. Obviously it was still a little bit sore, it was still like recovering slightly, so I definitely didn't have a lot of jewelry right at first, and the jewelry that I did try on, I didn't leave in. Maybe I left 1 or 2 rings in, but I didn't leave anything in like while I went to sleep or anything. I was so scared that like I would cut the skin and rip open the fresh scar tissue, but thankfully that didn't happen. It was just sort of an irrational fear. Like in my head I'm like, this skin is so brand new, it just healed, like I don't want to damage it, and I was scared the jewelry would damage it. But I've had multiple mods and the skin never ripped on any of them, even though I was scared it would on all of them. By the time I hit around the month mark is when I started feeling a little bit more comfortable to leave the jewelry in overnight. And at that point, it was just waiting till I accumulated rings. I didn't have jewelry for coin slots back then, and that's why I'd go on to body art forums, which I don't really do anymore because I prefer to support the piercers instead of like some big website. I'd prefer to support my local piercer, but at the time, I'm like, I need a lot of rings to fill my slot, and body art forums like has like these 20 and 30% off deals, so like I just couldn't resist the gold for 30% off, you know what I mean? Basically, over the past few years, I slowly started gathering more jewelry. At first, I just had plain rings because that was what was cheapest and most like utilitarian for me, because I bought clickers at first so I could move them around. As I started growing my jewelry collection a little bit more and a little bit more, I got some dedicated rings for my slot, and now I think I've had every single ring in this slot for probably over 2 years now. I think I bought most of these rings in 2019. I think I may have purchased 2 of them last year during the shutdown because there was a lot of shops having sales on their websites. Beyond that, everything else has been in there for years now. So I'm going to show you a picture right over here and just tell you everything in my ear, starting from the top. The first thing I have in there is the Not a Pair seam ring from BVLA, and this one is an 18 gauge. Pretty much these are all seam rings, so that's why I haven't removed them for like 2 years, because I am terrified to mangle them. You'll see what I did to a captive bead ring in my jewelry collection, which is coming soon. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. But I'm really terrified to mangle them. So these have been in here, all these rings have been in here since I purchased them, and yeah, they're all seam rings. So this Not a Pair seam ring has a really pretty turquoise in it. I love it, but I'm not sure if this is my final resting place for this guy. I think I'd prefer something else there, but I don't really have the funds for that right now. And I also think, besides just it being there and wanting something else there, I kind of want it somewhere else on my ear. But we'll see how that works out once I'm able to afford the jewelry I would really want at the top of my coin slot. The next couple down are 2 20 gauge seam rings. Now these ones are just, you know, like I said, about body art forms, just some cheap stuff that I got. I don't even know if these ones have a brand. I don't know if they're really good quality, but they're gold, and gold hasn't flaked away or anything, so it's good for me for now. The next one down you might recognize from my left ear piercing tour. It is a slightly smaller version of the Mila seam ring. It is just the next size down. Oh, by the way, all the rings in this coin slot are 5/16 of an inch, which is also 8 millimeters. Oh, I forgot to mention, the Not a Pair ring and the Mila ring I got from my piercer that is nearby me. And then the next two I'm going to mention, I purchased from another piercing place that was having a sale last year. So these next two are from another piercer. This next one, I think it's called the Oak Tier. Like, in my head I say Oak-a-tier, but that's probably not right. I have no idea how to pronounce it. But this is an 18 gauge seam ring, super pretty. I actually bought this for my other coin slot, but then I realized the bottom of it, like the beads aren't beads on both sides. The bottom of it is flat, which sucks because I was gonna do it on this coin slot, which is oriented in a different way, and I didn't want one side of it to be smooth, so I had to put it on this ear. The next one down is really pretty, and I actually have two of them, but the second one's in my other coin slot. But this one is the Desiree. I think in my head I say Desiree, but I think logically it's probably called Desiree. This is also from BVLA, just like the Oak-a-tier and the Nada and the Mila. They're all BVLA because I just can't, like, why is BVLA so good? Like, why is it so pretty? I wish it wasn't, but I'm glad it is. So it's like a struggle. So the next two down are both 16 gauge rings, and they're both from Anatometal. The top one is the Vaughn seam ring, and then the bottom one is called the Sabrina seam ring. And that's basically it. Let me know down below which one is your favorite piece of jewelry from this coin slot. I would have to say, I think my favorite is going to be the Desiree. Oh, but I love the Mila. But I feel like I love the big Mila more than the little Mila, because you can see it more. Oh, well, it's really hard now because I forgot about the Mila for a second. I think I'm going to have to go with the Mila because the Desiree is just so simple. The Mila is like gorgeous. Anyway, what's your favorite? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you liked it. And thank you so much for watching. I love you. See you in the next one. Bye. Coin slots. I got 2 coin slots, and I love coin slots. But I don't have room for any more piercings.